Okay, so throughout this worksheet we're going to remember just a couple of things. That the percent sign says divide by 100, and the word of is a multiplication. Let's look at the first question. Work out 85 cents as a percentage of $2.03. The first thing we need to notice about this is we have a units problem. This thing is in cents over here, and this thing is in dollars, so I'm going to convert this to 203 cents to go with the 85 cents. Now, a percentage is just a fraction out of 100. So if I start off by writing 85 over 203, I've written 85 as a fraction of 203. If I put this into my calculator, I get 0.419. That's the decimal. And our conversion between decimals and percentages is to times by 100. This is 41.9%. This is easy to understand if we remember that the percentage sign says divide by 100. If I were to take 41.9 and divide by 100, I would get this decimal, which represents this fraction. The next question is very easy. Write 0.03 as a percentage. Now once again, that percentage sign says divide by 100. 0.03 is 3%. Because if I were to take 3 and divide it by 100, I would get this decimal 0.03. 37% as a fraction. Well, if I do 37 and I use that percentage sign to mean divide by 100, and if I put that into my calculator, it's going to give me the fraction, 37 over 100. And that's all there is to it. If it wanted it as a decimal, I could just convert that fraction to a decimal and get 0.37. Let's move on. 16% as a decimal. Well, once again, if I take that percentage sign to mean divide by 100, 16 divided by 100 into my calculator is going to come out as 4 over 25. If I convert that to a decimal, that comes out as 0.16. And of course, I already have my answer to the next part of the question. Write it as a fraction. That's 4 out of 25. Now we move on to more of a problem-solving question. Camilla's brother joins the soccer club, and he receives a 12% discount on the $364 joining fee because he is younger than Camilla. We want to find the total cost of joining for him. Now, there's a number of different ways to do this question, but because we're also interested in compound interest, we're really only interested in one way of doing this question. Remember, 12% is 12 divided by 100, which as a decimal is 0.12. So I could work out 12% of the 364, subtract that, and then that would give me my answer. However, we're not going to do this. We're instead going to ask the question, what's left over? What's left at the end? If I start off with 100% and I subtract 12%, I'm left with 88%. So think of it like this. Camilla's brother, his joining fee is 88% of the $364. This is what I want to work out. Now 88% is 88 divided by 100, 0.88. And remember, whenever we see the word of in maths, that means multiply. 0.88 times 364 gives us 88% of 364, and that's how much he pays. On the calculator, that gives us $320.32. I would have got the same answer by working out 12% and then subtracting it, but this way is going to set us up better for compound interest problems later on. So here we're going to see another example of the same approach. Preeti's meal costs $7.60, and she pays 15% extra for service, for tips. So we could work out 15% of $7.60, add it on, and that's our answer. But instead we're going to say, what's left at the end? What am I left with? Well, if I start off with 100% and I add on 15%, I have 115%. So, in effect, she pays 115% of that $7.60. Remember, 115% is 115 divided by 100, which is 1.15. So 115%, 1.15 of means times $7.60 will give us the total amount that she pays. It might seem strange to talk about 115%. In fact, you may have even been told that you can't have more than 100%. But what we're doing here is saying, in comparison to what I started with, I have more. If I started with 100%, I must have more than 100% at the end of the process. It's a bit of a strange way to look at it, but it's very efficient. Let's look at the next problem. 70% of 510 seats are occupied. Work out how many seats are occupied. So I just simply want 70% of 510. 70% is 70 divided by 100. That's what that percentage sign does. 70 divided by 100, that's 0.7. I want 70% of, multiply, 510. And we just work that out. That is 357 seats occupied. Back to the first style of problem again. I want to write 55 grams as a percentage of 2.2 kilograms. And once again, I've got to be careful because my units are different. Before I can make any kind of sensible answer, everything has to be either in grams or kilograms. And in general, you want to use the smallest measurement you can. Grams are smaller than kilograms, so I need to convert my kilograms into grams. 2.2 kilograms is 2,200 grams. So I want to write 55 grams as a percentage of 2,200 grams. As a fraction, it's 55 over 2,200. If I give that fraction to my calculator, I get 1 out of 40. That would be 55 grams as a fraction of 2,200 grams in its simplest form. My calculator will allow me to convert that to 0.025, a decimal. If I times that by 100, I get 2.5, and that's my percentage. Because remember, we times a decimal by 100 to get a percentage, because that percentage sign says divide by 100 to get the decimal. So my answer is 2.5%. Here I'm asked to work out 16% of 525. 16% is 0.16 as a number. Remember that percentage sign says divide by 100. Of means times. So I've got to do 0.16 times 525. $84. A jacket has a price of $64. Jeff increases his price by 8% for unknown reasons. We want to calculate the new price. Once again, I could work out 8%, add it on, and I'd have my answer. But we're going to take this more efficient route of saying, if I start off with 100% and then we increase by 8%, we have 108% compared to what we had before. 108%, 100, we'll try that one more time, 108% as a number is just equal to 1.08, because that percentage sign made me divide by 100. So I want to work out 108%, 1.08, of, which of course still means times, 64. And that will give me my answer. $69.12. In 1 week, a bus driver works 5 days. On 4 days, he works from 9 to 5. And on 1 day, he works from 3 to 10. We want to work out the total number of hours he works this week. So this is not really a percentage question, but let's break it down, because it's going to get to a percentage question at the end. So from 9 to 5, that's 8 hours, and he does this on 4 days. So that's 32 hours worked. On 1 day he works from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m, that's 7 hours. And that just happens once. So my 32 hours plus my 7 hours means he works 39 hours that week. Each day he is paid $18 per hour before 7 p.m. And after 7 p.m. he's paid an extra 25% per hour. Calculate how much the bus driver is paid for this week. So this is fairly straightforward, right? On these 4 days, on these 32 hours over here, none of those hours are before 7 p.m. So for those 32 hours, he is being paid $18 every hour. So we can work that out. 32 times 18 gets us $576. After 7 p.m, he's paid an extra 25% extra an hour. So on this 1 day when he works from 3 till 10 p.m, 4 of those hours are before 7 p.m. 3 till 7, that's 4 hours, that's $18 per hour. So we have to add on to this 4 times 18 for the 4 hours from 3 till 7 p.m. when he's working at $18 per hour. But then from 7 till 10, he's being paid an extra 25%. So from that 7 till 10, we've got 3 lots of 18. We've got 3 lots of 18, which is $54. We now have to increase this by 25%. So if that $54 is 100% and I increase by 25%, I need to work out 125% of that $54. That is 1.25 times 54, and we can work that out on the calculator, giving us $67.50. $67.50. So on the 4 days from 9 till 5, he earns $576. On the 1 day he works from 3 till 10, the first 4 hours, he earns 4 times $18, which is $72. And then for the 3 hours after 7 p.m, which are increased by 25%, he earns $67.50. So altogether in the week, he earns $576 plus 72 plus $67.50. And just type that into your calculator, and away you go. Altogether then, we've got $715.50 for that week's work. So quite an interesting question, lots to unpack, but the percentage bit is the same as it always is once you reach it. Jeff's back, and he's increased the price of a dress from $250 to $280. Calculate the percentage increase in the price of this dress. Now, there's a number of different ways to approach this. What I'm going to say is this. Let's work out just the increase in the price of the dress. This is clearly $30. Now, I can work out what $30 is as a percentage of the original price. And that's the percentage increase in the price of the dress. 30 over 250 as a fraction is 3 out of 25. If we convert that, that is 0.12 as a decimal, which we should recognize by now is 12%. So that is a 12% increase in the price of the dress. The price of a pack of printer paper is $5.60, and this price is reduced by 15%. Calculate the sale price. If we reduce by 15%, we are left with 85%. So I want to work out 85% of 560. That is 0.85 times 560, and we can work that out, and there's our answer. That's getting me $4.76. Nina sells t-shirts, and the prices are shown in the table. One day, Nina reduces all prices by 20%, and we want to work out the price of a striped t-shirt. So, we want to reduce this $9.50 by 20%. If we are reducing by 20%, we are left with 80%. So, I've got to work out 80% of 950. 0.80 times 950, and I'm going to work that out, and that's my answer. 7.6 or $7.60. Nina paid $22.50 for a dress, and she sold it for $31.50. Work out her percentage profit. Now once again, I'm going to forget percentage for a second and just focus on her profit. Her profit is $31.50, the selling price, minus the original $22.50. So she's making $9 profit. Now that $9 is a fraction out of that $22.50 she paid originally. She's making, think of it this way, she's making $9 out of that original $22.50 that she spent. If I type this into my calculator, I get 2/5. That's the fraction. If I convert it to a decimal, I get 0.4. And that decimal converted to a percentage is 40%. Remember, I times by 100 to represent my decimals as percentages, because that percentage sign has a built-in divide by 100, which would take me back to where I started if I got rid of it. So there's our answer, a 40% profit. And that's all the solutions for the Percentages Basics worksheet.